I guess it's I guess we're already at the next Thursday. There was the last Thursday and we had a show. Now we got to Thursday again. There's another show. It just seems like it happens really fast. I don't know. Maybe it's just my
No,
my experience, my sensation.
time definitely feels like it's speeding up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
it
think
does.
we've
It does
gone
feel that
so
way.
fast into the future that now this is the future version of Seth where he has a mohawk. It's pretty
Oh, really?
nice.
No, no, no. Don't you even touch
No,
that.
no, we
Don't
like
even touch
it.
it.
We like it. We should tell those who might be watching the recording or maybe are here for the first time what's going on here and who we are, Chris. If you
Yep.
were about to
Let's
get
tell
there.
him.
Uh,
Let's tell them. This is if you're just tuning in. First of all, welcome everybody who's joining us again. The repeat joiners. We've definitely getting used to seeing a lot of these names. Some of them are new names. And if you're a new one, then tell us where you're from. Yeah, you see that's kind of the trend. We also like to know geographically where everyone's tuning in from. This is this is the great transition. We on the great transition, we are trying to figure out the trend of humanity, the trend of the world, um, and just looking at certain at certain points along, let's say from week to week, we're figuring out what's changing, what's being added, what's being taken away, what things are being upgraded, and according to those data points we can see a trend and realize that maybe that there's a trend in a certain direction. Of course, the wisdom of Kabbalah tells us what that direction is, so we're trying to connect those points for you, and we would like you to join us on that exploration. Give us time to unpackage the things that we want to unpackage, and give it to you in a way that maybe, if it's their first time, then maybe you can digest it a little bit easier, and you won't look at the news just on a superficial level. You can start looking at what's going on in the world, maybe with a little bit deeper understanding, what you would get from the wisdom of Kabbalah, which is what we get from the wisdom of Kabbalah. We've all been studying for many years, and we just feel like this is a great way to approach the people. So that's what we're here to do. And today we've got a topic which we brought this up a couple of times. We've talked about the topic of education. We talked about what the problems of education. Certainly, I don't think we've mentioned it to this level of detail. Well, right now, I want to talk about real quick about the higher education. There's kind of a crisis going on in the higher education. Um, but first, let me show you this image. See that? Is that? Are you viewing this image? Wait, why don't I hear? Wait a second. Did I
no,
lose
I
volume?
was
No,
just
I hear. I
I
hear
was
you. Oh
muted.
God.
This is fun. This is a fun one.
Yes, we see it.
If you're doing the
Nice.
podcast version of this, guys,
Nice.
and you don't have a video right now, we're just looking at this
Is
sign. It says, "Education is important, but tacos is importanter." I don't know. Maybe that's not the voice
I
that you
like
do it in, but
importanter. The is this for real or photoshopped? I mean, it works either way, even if it's a meme
if it's
thing.
real, it could just be one of those things that it's
Mm-hmm.
a joke, but it's just a way of
Nice. Mm-hmm.
grabbing attention. Uh, Now that's a bit of an exaggeration. To That's a bit of an exaggeration. Education is not really at that much of a crisis where everyone is completely illiterate and unable to read or write. But
But they
um,
do like
but like I said,
tacos.
we've talked.
Mm-hmm.
They do like tacos, and that's actually we could probably circle back around to that picture because it does become relevant in a minute. There's a should I show this article in Nature? Yeah, let's just show you. Let's just show you. So here's an article from Nature. This is kind of what launched the idea
Chris,
for
just
today's show.
I think that maybe you're joining a soft school of over um, of giving people more of the benefit of the doubt. I think you said that the crisis is not as big as that about spelling, but I think that I just Googled it. The
Seth,
36
raise your volume a little bit, just a
th-
tiny
30
bit.
36
Yeah,
million
there we go.
adults in the
Oh, that's good.
U.S. 36 million adults in the U.S. don't have basic reading, writing, and math skills above a third
I
grade.
saw
Wow.
that.
So just,
I
Wow.
you
saw
know,
that.
I
I
didn't
know
know
Yeah.
this number.
Asaf
Wow.
always, as the loving, caring, warm person he is, he's always seeing the good in everyone, and he's always judging everybody
God
to a
bless him.
scale of merit.
God
And
bless him.
I
That
want to
was a
say that I'm
very,
like that
very
also.
nice way of saying naive. That was a very nice kind of a
And he's not even married.
whitewashed term.
So
Yeah.
there is a crisis. Yeah, that's all I wanted to say.
There is a crisis. You're right. There is a crisis, and maybe completely illiterate is not the right way to say it. But yeah, reading is in a downward trend. That's for sure. So this is from Nature. A pretty prominent a magazine, online magazine now. PhD training is no longer fit for purpose. It needs reform now. Now could also have been a few years ago, but they also say here's in the subtext and the subtitle: if researchers are to meet society's expectations, their training and mentoring must escape the 19th century. Now, Asaf is always bringing up the idea that the problem that the educational system was built on something that's over 100 years old, and it doesn't deserve to be in like to exist in that way in our time and time of age. Basically what that article is explaining is that the PhD training process that's happening globally, not just in America, but we're talking globally in general. The PhD training process is it's not exactly what it used to be, and there's just a couple of points. One is that first of all, students are unhappy. You have this kind of, we've talked a lot about it on the show, this mental health outbreak, where depression is the number one. That kind of seeps into the higher education as well. So you're not just, if you think about it, 50 years ago, what it was like to go to college. I even remember what it was like for me to go to college. It's a good time, Now you have a lot of students who actually aren't experiencing a good time anymore. Has a lot to do with a lot of other points. Maybe we can get into them later, but just accept the fact that it's not the same as it used to be. So the system that used to work back then and people enjoyed working within it, that same system still works, but people are different and they're not enjoying it. So that you can kind of imagine to yourself what kind of results are going to come as a result of that. Students, they also stay here in the article that students also seem to have more absences, missed assignments, or they're some kind of excuse for why they're not. This is all kind of also accumulating. So whereas it used to be something that was like a lot less familiar with professors, they see it more and more. Also, you could in the article there, he explains how he has like his smartest friends are now deciding to go against academia because they just don't see that it's worth it. They don't want to go through all of it because it's not the same that it used to be.
Right.
Also, to have to do a pre-doc and then 6 years of PhD is also pushing people away because they're used to this thing of like, I can just attain it myself. I can just go online. I know Seth already has like that thought in his head to just go online and do it, right? So a lot of other people are thinking about that as well. Also within universities, it's a problem. You have huge clashes of like different groups, sects of people within universities. So it just makes it, you're not going to enjoy anymore. You're kind of like going to this battle zone. A professor wrote, they kind of commented as a response to this article, and he said a couple of things. So you get kind of like the inside view of it. And he says the professors that he spoke to, and also he himself, he sees this kind of phenomena of students don't even know why they're in college. They don't even know why. Also, the professors, they don't know why. They don't know why those students are there.
If you're going to live 80 years or 100 years, probably now people will live 100 years. And if you look back, I'm in my 40s. If I look back at who I was in my 20s, like, can hardly recognize that guy. So how are you supposed to, at 20 years old, determine some path for your future? There was no smartphones in 2007 or something like that, right? And within 10 years, we're probably going to have robots doing everything in our homes, and you have ChatGPT and everything like that. How could a person decide at 20 years old what he's going to study for the next 8 years? And
well, it used to be different, and they mention it here in the article where back, I don't know why he referenced Germany. Maybe that's the actual origin of this whole process. But they mentioned in Germany, you would a handful of people would attach themselves to this knowledgeable person, this this professor, and just shadow them in everything that they're doing, gain experience, and they'd also have passion for doing it. That kind of template is still the template, but you add 1,000 people in one lecture hall with one professor, and the dynamic completely changes, and you lose a lot of the little nuanced ways that a person would be educated. It's just kind of gone, So, and it kind of, and the last kind of point here is that people start going through these. It's like, how much time did I invest versus what was the quality of of my work that I produced during that effort that I gave. Oh, you worked 40 hours, or you did your 40 hours on this project or whatever. Yeah, we want to pass you. We don't want to fail you. So we're passing you, but the quality was like not, it was not there. So all these things, and there's actually a lot more. You can probably imagine to yourself what else is there, but this is kind of the trend of what's happening, and at least in higher education around the world, even though there are many more PhD applicants around the world, it's still happening. It still has this like a lesser quality. So that's
just
kind
in
of the
short,
crisis.
you're saying there's just so I understand the concept here, there's a crisis in the world of PhD ism.
This specifically, that's this specific article, because we talked about it, like what teachers, students, on even in elementary, what's the curriculum here. I'm not even mentioning curriculum. I'm just talking about the PhD process, which let's think of it like this. Leaders of every country, they highly regard this PhD, this academic, this kind of like race to high academics, to high education, because it's the science that comes out of it actually gives your country kind of a leading edge, like this, like you kind of have the reign over
can't
other countries who
you
have
can't have a
less
successful country unless you
intelligent.
have educated people.
So it's important. So that's in that light, it's considered also a crisis, a different kind of crisis, but nonetheless.
I wonder, I do wonder how people, I mean, young people today in our time think about that, about getting a PhD, about becoming like, a doctor, doing a doctorate of something. I mean, I remember when I did my bachelor's degree, then I did a master's degree, and I was flirting with the idea of doing a PhD. And I even started like, getting into the process a little bit. And then I just saw that there was no point. Like, unless you planned to be, in academia, and that becomes like your thing. And I mean, I'm not ruling it out completely. I'm just saying that even I saw that, it just seemed so far from being relevant, required. I'm wondering how young people think about it today. Like, is that even something that's interesting for people, that they consider? Or it's just like very, very, very few people that have their minds set on researching a specific thing, or like influence from their parents that kind
I
of.
think if you start like in high school, for example, I think that the kids must be, because that's probably the prime place, bored out of their heads
Sure.
most of the day, like banging
Sure.
into the walls bored. I think that there's probably some great teachers and some great classes where people are really inspired, and it's such a shame because those young people probably want to talk about what's going on inside them and talk about life, but there's just not an opportunity in the classroom. You come in,
Yeah.
if like the world is changing, everything about your life is changing, and you come inside and you sit down, keep your mouth shut, and and listen to what I'm going to tell you, which is already like 20-year-old material or something like that. So I think that
Yeah.
I think probably the crisis is
Yeah,
because of the
you
desire inside.
you just said something that's really sparked it. Now it takes me back. 20-year-old material. This is the thing. Like, I mean, when I was in university, I'm like, look, I'm a good student. Like, in the sense that I can really I can digest a lot of material very fast. I'm very autodidactic. I can learn. I'm good at getting grades. It's very easy for me. But it's not like that for everyone, and I recognize that. But for me, it was really easy. And then I was just thinking, but most of what you get is irrelevant or outdated. Like if I'm gonna go forward in that route, it's only if I want to, like, research
Doctor
something.
us off.
Exactly, to have that title next to your name, or to like, or if I really have an interest. This is another thing. What I wanted to research, it was a very far from like from falling into like an existing drawer. This is another thing with the whole PhD mentoring kind of process. You don't really. It's very rare.
You still have to conform.
Yes. It's very rare that you get to actually delve into what's really is your interest and you want to research and so on. In more ways than one, you have to conform to whoever's mentoring you and whatever area you're in, and all kinds of other constraints that I just realized that it's not worth it. That was my conclusion anyway. And also what Seth said, that it's just like, it just feels like you're in a system that is how it operates, and even what it teaches to a large extent is so outdated. Is just so, the way it works is also so archaic, from how lessons happen to how the whole process of getting a PhD happens. Anyway, that was my take, and I'm like, and people who are younger today, I'm sure like it's much worse, where they are in relation to that system. Like the gap is probably, the dissonance is much bigger.
And you, not to mention that you graduate with your diploma and probably 6 figures of student debt. So that's
I mean, any way you look at
especially if you're in the US,
there's a problem.
So,
well,
wait a second.
Kabbalistically speaking, that's what we came here for, right? I mean, some folks here, I hope, are interested in hearing a Kabbalistic perspective on all of this. But I'm going with you, man. Where are we going?
They're just excited. They want to justify why they hate school so much, and now there's a reason. It just didn't work out for them because it's not supposed to. It was supposed to work out for them 100 years ago, not anymore. No, let's figure it out, because really, what is it actually pointing at? It's not just pointing at people coming out of the system with an education. What is really the end goal here? The overarching end goal. First of all, to have a highly capable nation. That's at the very top, right? Then you want to have, let's say, a competitive edge, right? Not like wherever you are, locally or regionally. Let's say you also want to make a lot of money, or you want to be successful, or you want, if it's not about the money, then you want to do your own research and do stuff, or you want to be successful, and you want to contribute somehow. All those things are kind of they're kind of in jeopardy at the moment. And so the question kind of is like, what does that actually mean if the higher education is kind of falling apart? Do you let it fall apart? Mm-hmm. Is it something, what I'm saying?
World, like, if I look at the world today, I see endless. I mean, all the highways here have potholes in them. When you try and get on some highway, there's a jug handle like this, and then it comes back like this, and there's overpass like this, and it's just gross. The buildings, most of the buildings, the design of the building made by PhD architect and engineer students, just ugly. Right? Like food is, we talk about it all the time. Food is filled with plastic. The oceans don't have any fish in them anymore. Mm-hmm. So all of these great, smart people that graduated from all these institutions made a shitty world. Like everything is just in such a bad state. The smartest people with their think tanks, and right, I think we said it last week that there's they spent $27 trillion in the United States, adjusted for today's dollars, on fighting poverty. Serious?
And
give
what?
Me a couple and that didn't go away. So what is the even value of this whole process? Because the world that all these experts created is a whatever they're learning. What is it worth if this is what it results in?
Okay, so this leads us to the bigger question here, which is the the transformation that the education system, and I'm talking, you know, when we say education, we should be like, we should overgeneralize it. We should. It's education on all levels. It doesn't matter. It doesn't apply just, it's not just higher education. It's also schools, public schools, you know, K-12, whatever, you know, the colleges. It's all of our educational systems. They're essentially, you know, they're outdated. This is what is happening here. And at the end result, they don't seem to really contribute to fixing the serious problems in our world today. Let alone just, you know, making life better in various
If you
aspects.
could make, if you could invest in a weapons company, in an industrial military complex company, Boeing or Raytheon or something like that, and you're able to make, like, I don't know, you put it in when you're 20, and by the time you're 35, you know, you put $15,000 in when you're 20, and by the time you're 35, it's worth like $400,000. Let's just say, for example, if there was like a couple wars or whatever, like,
Yeah.
would I do it? Would I not do it?
Hmm.
I don't know. Would I do it and not tell anyone about it? You know, the fact that I would have, you know, in 10 years, 12 years later, I'd have a couple $100,000 in the bank, but it was made off of like bombs and everything. And I think
Yeah.
that it's a dramatic and maybe simplistic example, but I think
No,
that
it
the issue that we're
makes the
dealing
point.
with,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that it just, the whole thing is like this self-perpetuating sewage system.
Well, you don't want to stop it
Sewage
until you're
system.
basically forced to stop it. That's
Ooh.
kind of the problem. Is like,
Ooh.
you know,
Okay, self-perpetuating. So
Right.
this, okay, let me throw something into the mix here. Okay, so this
Throw it.
is, we've talked a lot about ChatGPT. I mean, we talked about it. We dedicated a whole talk to
Who
this
hasn't talked
when it
about
just, yeah, when it just came out. And can you see my screen now? No, you can't see it. Wait a second. Okay, so
Selecting
check this
black.
out.
Yeah.
There it is.
Here is like how the educational systems try to perpetuate
Should
themselves,
say smart
right?
college student caught submitting.
Yeah, I mean, look at that. College student caught submitting paper using ChatGPT. Check this out. The paper was
How did he get caught?
too coherent
Oh.
and well structured. Think about what that means, right? I mean, there's some more points to the article here, but the point is very clear. I mean, how. And he was caught and he was banned, and, you know, and the professors, the schools don't know how to eat this thing. We're getting better tools that help us accomplish tasks better, but they don't fit, you know, our education models. So we don't know what to do with them. So we
Well,
have
listen,
to
I
ban
saw
them. Just show how ridiculous that is.
yeah.
I mean, and there's also, yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just going
you
to
were
bring the analogy of the calculator. You know, like when the calculator was invented and it was available to all the students in math class, they're like, "Oh no, they're going to be cheating," you know, and we found our way around it. That's kind of, I think that's what one of the guys are opening.
Yeah, I mean,
he kind
this-
of mentioned that as an.
So the
as an analogy.
education, the leaders of the current education system, you know, it's almost like the banning ChatGPT is almost like, it reminds you of the Luddites, you know, from the 19th century, who destroyed, like, you know, the
Right, we talked about
English
that a couple
textile
times.
workers.
Yeah,
19th
yeah.
century, when the new kind of machinery came, especially in the cotton and wool industries, they destroyed the machines because they
They
knew
were
that
hurting.
they will take their jobs. But I'm saying
Yeah.
this is essentially what is happening here. By the way, during the, you just mentioned the calculators thing. During the Cold War era, there were women, I think mostly from like lower socioeconomic levels, but in any case, they were hired by, you know, the U.S. military and then the Defense Force and all that,
right.
to make calculations by hand. You know how they used to call those women?
Human calculators.
Human computers. That's the funny
Human
thing.
computers,
So
yeah.
those women were called, it was like, oh, we have some algorithmic.
Isn't it because they didn't trust the computer at first? They
Then-
didn't trust the
well,
calculations
it
they
took
were getting,
time
or they
until
just
it
needed-
get, but they needed more than the computer could provide, as far as
Right, that's what it
I can
was.
tell.
Right.
And then,
Yeah.
but the funny thing is, you had people doing a certain job, and literally they were called. It was like, oh, give it to the computers, and what they meant was the
Yeah.
women who were making
People.
calculations by
Right.
hand. People who were doing that for the aerospace and defense projects and all that. And later, those computers were replaced by actual computers. Now, isn't that better? That now we can delegate that to a machine.
Now we
So-
can say it's better. Yeah.
So I'm saying
Then I
schools,
can understand the problem.
the schools of today, and when I say school, I mean from from first grade to PhD. It doesn't matter. The entire infrastructure called the education system, is completely outdated, and it was built like 300 years ago or something like that. Based on like completely different conditions in the world. And now this new, technology is coming, like ChatGPT and other AI tools and all that. And we're thinking about banning the tools because we
Asaf, do you
don't
know
know
what,
how to use them well.
I know
It's ridiculous.
I
It's
know you
just
live in a
ridiculous.
very quaint little country in the Middle East, but have you ever heard of Walmart?
Sure.
I know Chris is from
For
Texas,
every
he
time
knows
I
what
come
Walmart
to the
is.
U.S., for me to visit Walmart is like I had this thought last time I was in Walmart. I saw I think I sent it to you, right? I sent it to you. I think I sent you last time I was in the U.S. was September. Last September, went for the Kabu retreat, which is a good reason to come to the
Plug it.
U.S.
By the way, plug it real quick.
Yeah, plug it real quick. There is another Kabbalah retreat coming up May 5 through 7 in Holland, close to Amsterdam. So if
How can
you're
people find out about it?
if you're in the neighborhood, go to retreat.kabbalah.info. Retreat.kabbalah.info. That's very simple. Maybe we'll throw it into the chat as well. You'll get all the details there. If you're in the neighborhood and you want to give this a shot, you definitely should. So that's the Kabi
Walmart.
retreat. Anyway, so I went to, I remember the Walmart story from September was actually funny. So we went into Walmart. We needed actually a couple of things, for the retreat, some equipment.
As you do.
And we got in, and I was like, it was a little bit of a culture shock because, for instance, you see
The store is the size of one of your cities.
Yeah, of course, yes. And it's so funny to me that there is one store where you can get like, I don't know, like a pizza pepperoni with like a dead cat on it and PlayStation at the same store. It's just funny to me.
Dead cat.
It's just really funny. And
You can
and
spend
also-
hours in there. My
Oh,
wife was
man,
the same too. Yeah, when we go
Anyway,
there. She's like, gets lost. She'll have to call me. She doesn't know what she's doing.
So I get in and I see this huge poster, and there's two things on the poster, and it's the same poster. And on the one hand, there's this picture of this cheeseburger with like molten cheese, and it's like a that kind of shot. And right next to it, there's like a huge bottle of Tums. For heartburn. And basically they're advertised as going
Not on
together.
accident.
That's a whole
together.
TGT show
It is
right there, just in that one sign.
I mean, that says so much. And then I remember with the friends, our other fellow Kabbalists who were with me, we were like just, actually Marcus and I, we were taking a tour, just cracking ourselves at Walmart and just thinking like, this should be documented because this is kind of a museum. Like if you think about the future society where we actually recognize that we should stop killing ourselves with the food we eat, and we should stop polluting our bodies, and we should stop like making toxins with artificial sugar coat toxins and call that food. When we actually advance out of that, this will be a great museum for this is what people came in here and they bought this thing of their own accord.
Imagine people.
This is how they used to live 400 years ago.
It was like such an experience.
The reason I bring up, thank you for that funny story. And I remember the picture. I think you actually sent the picture. Didn't they actually sell in the same package like the antacid with the
burger or something like that? It was something. You know what?
I'll
I
look in
could
the
probably
chat,
find it.
It's like joke / not joking. kind of
No.
experience.
No, I think they actually
the
did it,
banner
but-
was
okay,
yeah.
so
The poster was not a joke. That was a real
the point is
advertisement.
No,
this.
I'm saying that they would have done it like as a joke slash not a joke. Like, okay, we're joking, but not really. You should take these. Okay, sorry, go ahead, Seth.
Walmart loses $3 billion a year from theft. Let me use this as an example as we get back to the education that we were
Yeah.
talking about, the problem with
right.
education. So Walmart Walmart is the biggest retailer in the U.S., $3 billion, with a B, dollars a year from
biggest in-
theft, okay?
Yes. Okay.
So Amazon
Ooh.
has a store now. I didn't see an Amazon one, but I saw a store like this in the airport in New York. You walk into the store. You have to have the app, I guess, for the thing to let you in. You have to have the Amazon app in order for the gate to open for you to get in the store. So once you get in, Amazon has your credit card because you have the app and you buy stuff. You go in the store, you take whatever you want, and it's all chipped or however it works. And as you walk out, it just
okay.
deducts it from your account.
Mm-hmm.
So nothing can be stolen from the store. Okay, you
Right.
go
Like
in,
cashiers.
anything you want, you just take.
Because
want
you're
one of
gonna
these?
you're gonna automatically pay for it,
You're
basically.
automatically paying for it when you walk out the door.
Right.
So if it works, right? Forget about all the implications and what it means and what everyone thinks about conspiracies. And just imagine just the concept of, as an entrepreneur, as a business person,
Yeah.
as an economist
Interesting.
or whatever.
Yeah, I'm
financial
thinking a whole
analyst.
city now. I'm thinking like this is interesting. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so
Yeah.
the concept is then I'm thinking like I'm relating it to the ChatGPT way of doing work, for example. The way of doing retail then
Yeah.
is if there's no waste, you get whatever you want, you pay for everything. So if Walmart looks over and says they don't have any shoplifting, they're not losing money. We're losing 3 billion because people are stealing stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So how long will it be until Walmart then adopts the same exact
Right.
practice, right? So now, and how long will it be till almost every store does the same thing? Well, let's just say all the big retailers, right?
Right.
So then
And also the
of
technology
course-
maybe will get cheaper, more efficient, easier to implement, and so on. Okay.
So you don't have anybody
doubt.
work. You don't have any cashiers. You don't have all these other things because it's just so much more efficient.
Yeah.
So you can't like stop it at that point. The retailer is not going to go on. Walmart is not going to continue to lose $3 billion a year if they can do that and not lose $3 billion a year, right?
Yep.
That one little change, fire a bunch of cashiers, put in some technology, and put $3 billion onto the bottom line. They can't not do it.
Yeah.
So the point is, like when it comes to education, like Chris said about the calculator, so now you have ChatGPT and all these things. Like these things you almost can't not use these tools. So what are you gonna, so the only problem then is just our holding on to the old ways that it's done instead of racing into the
Exactly.
future.
Exactly.
Because the future is coming, and it's as if we're being. You ever seen like a video or something, or maybe it happened to you? You're like water skiing or something, and you wipe out, and you're still holding on. The water's just smashing you. I mean, that's basically what's happening. The future
Yep.
is coming at us so fast.
And we're like, no, wait,
Yeah.
we're not
Right,
ready.
we're
We
just
don't
being
want that.
dragged behind.
And
Yeah.
and from a Kabbalistic perspective, this is not just technology that is coming at us to get us.
Of course, Walmart
What's
is an
coming?
example.
Yeah, what's coming to get us is a much, much deeper thing. It's not, just imagine that there is no need to teach anyone anything anymore because whatever it is that someone can teach you, you can learn faster, easier, more efficiently with some AI tool, right? That's one thing. Another thing is we don't even have a knowledge. We stop having a knowledge and skills problem that we don't require an educational system for those things. So what is the purpose of an educational system at all? Like, do you even need education? What is and that leads us to a much deeper question here. What is education really about? What is it really about? Is it really just to give people knowledge? Is it really to give people skills? Is it really to give people degrees? What is the necessity for us to interact with each other in a paradigm called education, where a person or a group of people provides something to other people that we can call this an educational process? What is an educational process? And if you can do it all with technology, with machines, with AI, with computers, where is the requirement for humans to get into an educational connection? What are these?
That's exactly what the guy was claiming. He was saying they don't know why they're there, why they're here, and we also don't know why they're here. I mean, that kind of just sums it up 100%.
That's a good point.
That question. Like, I don't know why I'm here, meaning I don't have any desire. I'm just going through the motions. I'll get a piece of paper. I'll spend hundreds of thousands of dollars, and then it just keeps going on until the next,
But
the next, the next
if the
wave.
ChatGPT, for example, can answer questions better than any person, what is left to do? What is left to learn? What is left to educate on? Now, the problem, of course, is, what are you going to do with all the school bill? This is not for us to solve this problem, but, a lot of people are employed as teachers, and a lot of people are employed as administrators in the schools, and a lot of people supply school lunches, and a lot of people print textbooks. So there's like lots of business behind it.
Can I give an immediate hard-hitting solution?
We count on your immediate hard-hitting solution.
I say you don't need you need very little people to just run the educational system, to give people knowledge, just knowledge, because the rest of it can be automated. We've established that. We are going there. Like you said, future is coming. This is what's going to happen. We're not going to need people for that. What do you need people for? And a lot of them only for one thing. And that is to set an example of human connection. And that is the next level of education. And it's the only thing that's going to be left if we're talking future, where this is going. We need people to show other people what it's like to connect with each other. That's what we need to distribute throughout human society, throughout the human network. That's what we can call true education. Teaching each other, showing each other, exemplifying to each other the value of being positively connected to each other in a healthy way, like cells in a living body. That's the one thing that's going to be left, that will require a human.
It's mind-boggling with all of the problems in the world today, even in a country that there isn't even a class that all students are required to take of just how to listen to somebody else.
Oh man, if you break it, it's such a good example. What you're saying now. We had our friend, our PhD, Dr. Guy Tzchakov, who is an expert in this area.
He's an expert listener.
Yeah, he's an expert in what it.
He's an expert teaching and listening.
No, but he knows all of the the cutting edge research on this and how it changes attitudes. A person who feels that he's being listened to, changes, literally changes. If you grew up and no one listened to you, you're gonna have a hard time in life, and you're gonna give a hard time in life to everyone else that you meet. If you feel that you're being listened to, you're going to have a completely different life. You're going to connect to people differently.
Defenses are down.
Of course. I mean, and that's just one obvious example. So there is so much in human psychology and sociology that we are not even including in any curriculum, except if you're going to research those things. It's not basic, and this is the basic stuff. This is the true skills. This is this true stuff that we need, and really just a portion of it. There's so much more. We need to understand what we are as human beings, where we're developing, how we're related to each other and to nature, to the planet. that's the kind of reality that we are in. It's a sorry, go ahead. I just have a bunch of
Keep
Wait
other
a second.
thoughts
There's
here that come up, but go
there's
ahead. Yeah.
I'll add just I was just looking at the comments here a few minutes ago. Adam Major said that in his country, people are so disrespectful that it doesn't mean much to help solving their issues, because you're going to be they'll be your enemy immediately. And that's kind of the thing. It's like because you kind of jumped to, okay, well we've got this obsolete education system, so we need human education. There's a little in the middle there that needs to be clarified. Like,
Yes.
wait a second. So we're
You're
going to
right.
have a bunch of teachers laid off. We're kind of going to have like a not a fun time in the middle there where people are uncomfortable. So as long as this crisis is revealed, many layoffs happen, let's say, people don't know what to do with their lives. As long as you've got a solution already in standby, we're waiting to just be ushered into for the right moment. That's okay. But if there's kind of this long wait where, okay, bam, you get hit by the crisis, there's a lot of problems here, things start piling up, and you don't have a solution ready to usher in, transition into to that moment, you kind of got a problem. You're already offering the solution, but at this moment, it doesn't really seem like that's the solution. The solution kind of already seems like we need to find more jobs for these teachers, or we need to, like I just saw that a lot of the companies are trying to force workers back to. It's the same exact problem, trying to force workers back into the office. Yeah, I get that you're probably more productive, but it also feels like the commercial real estate industry is pushing on these companies to get them to move back into the office, start paying rent again for the buildings that they've built. So there seems like there's kind of like this. We're still, like you said, we're trying to hold on to that old way of doing it.
To me, this what you just said now, and the question, and this is just reinforcing and highlighting the paradoxical nature of this crossroads that we are in. Check this out. This is the kind of here's what a new study shows you how to do. A new study shows you where you should hide to survive a nuclear attack. Like, this is how I mean, this is our world. We're thinking about how to solve
Right.
Problems. I'm just showing this as a funny, not funny example. This is essentially what's happening on all levels. We're trying to
Yes.
we're trying to solve these problems that we have by just deflecting them, by
Right.
if we are in a situation, those scientists who do the doomsday clock, this kind of
Yeah.
little, I don't know if it's, I don't even know what this whole thing and how they really calculate it and all this thing. I never went into the details, but it just feels like some PR media kind of stunt
Could be.
to me, but whatever. But I mean, this is so like funny, because we are in a situation today where we have the means, we have the technology, we have the resources, and we don't really need to nuke each other. We don't have to do this. We don't, we can manage the Earth's resources. We can come up with better solution other than war, and yet we're not doing that. The militaries in every country are trying to get stronger. There's still a very serious arms race. We are way behind where we should be as a species.
So sad.
Right.
As a species, we're so behind. We're behind. It's like a monkey with the nuclear codes in their hands. That's kind of where we're at right now. We are, and the same applies for any other use of technology. This is the human problem. This is where education needs to step in. Education is the technology. It should be the greatest human technology that will allow us to better relate to each other, so that we don't need to come up with studies on how to survive a nuclear attack.
I think I finally get where you're trying to go to. Okay, it clicked a little bit for me now. Yeah. I hope the audience too.
We're
I was
looking
missing
at it.
that part.
We're looking at our problems backwards. We're trying to fight them instead of solving them. I don't know if I'm really
Right.
really
clear.
being
Yeah.
clear
And
with
it's so
Yeah.
ridiculously overwhelming. But there's really good news, and there's so much hope, and everyone should just relax for a minute, because the problem is sick, the problem is sad, the problem is absolutely overwhelming, and it's gigantic. It's like a tsunami is about to land on my head. But the but also we are the product. Like, there is a huge world we're part of that is all
Mm-hmm.
functioning without us doing anything. You know, like, you always think you're so important in your life, and then you get sick and you're in bed for a week, and like everything goes on without you just fine.
That's a good point.
You know,
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
we don't realize that if we just start this, for example, start with your own children in your home, start
Mm-hmm.
with your spouse, start to educate yourselves, start to try and treat each other with love. When your kid's having a fit, like, just take him over to the sink and just, like, you told your kid to clean his room and he's not cleaning his room. Just stop what you're doing and go up there and just help them. Just do it together. The kid's upset he's supposed to do the dishes, he's not doing it. Just go. Sit there with him. Turn the water on. Roll up your sleeves. Let it splash on you and do it with them. Like, just start to be an example of someone who listens. Start to be an example of someone who's loving. Start to be a good example for this child or for your spouse. And your spouse will then learn, and your child will see this is how to be a person. And then what will happen, because we're part of nature, we didn't make the body, we didn't make the air, we didn't make anything. Nature made all of this, and there's a huge intelligence inside of nature. So all of a sudden, you start to unlock. All of a sudden, your child or spouse will start saying things to you that are surprising you, completely blow your mind. The conversations you have will completely blow your mind. The interactions between you will completely blow your mind, because that's really what where we're going and what we're made out of. All of a sudden, the relationships you're having, your understanding of life will start to be will blow your mind what starts to happen, because once we start to just participate in a small way, all of a sudden now we have all of the power of nature that we're flowing with it. Instead of, like,
Yeah.
Asaf is saying, like, where am I going to hide from a nuclear bomb? Like, how much I need to get another, like, $250,000 so I can buy my bunker. It's like you're trying to hold back a tsunami. It's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
Well, that's the natural reaction.
But
And,
there's
and
so
by and
much
by the
ac-
way, what you just said, the example you just gave, even family. I mean, if we started as a society to change our mindset towards that, think about how many people could contribute and actually work in helping that happen. Think about how
Work
many
meaning that
people,
I'm receiving
meaning
my
that I
necessities in order to
receive,
continue.
yeah, I receive my salary or my necessity, whatever I'm receiving from society, my sustenance, in exchange for keeping society healthy, whether it's through consulting for parents, helping them with parenting. In every workplace, you're going to need people who are going to work on connection, maintain connection, help people overcome their eruptions of ego and stay, and work on themselves. This is we have to change the concept of work as well. I mean, education, we
Right.
started this conversation from education. Now, what is education? Education, as we know it today, education is to teach you skills so that you can work. That's basically
to promote this outdated method of existence, basically.
Exactly. And what we're seeing today is the skills are becoming irrelevant because of technology and so on. And work is also becoming less relevant. Seth mentioned like the Walmart example with automating that. Just this week, I think Google laid off 12,000 workers, Microsoft 10,000 workers, Salesforce another 8,000, Amazon plans to lay off another 20,000 or something. And that's not because these companies lack funds or
And
something.
then when
It's
the self-driving trucks drive all the trucks, you're not, and the truck drivers don't need to take breaks to sleep and to eat. So the robots are going to drive the trucks, and they're going to unload the trucks, and they're
So
going
in
on
such
that
a
side.
situation, yeah, with massive tech unemployment, which is only going to grow exponentially from year to year with AI now and big data and everything, what are you going to have higher education for? People are going to be studying to do PhDs for what? For a society that what's going to be the purpose of this whole thing if you're going to have a massive problem? So we need to change it's a very a bit of a intricate discussion to have when we're talking about overhauling the education system, because it also has to do with the concept of
Society,
work
all of
and
society.
and
Yeah,
all
well, that too. Yeah.
the entire socioeconomic order. Yeah, basically yes. So we're headed for a major revolution that education is a huge axis, but there's also other axes there, and they're all converging. Technology, education, the workplace, everything is going to converge to a point where we're going to have to
Right.
reinvent ourselves as a species and as an individual human beings. We're going to have to
Yeah.
redefine what it means to be a human being in the 21st century. And it's no longer to be, I'll tell you what it's not going to be. It's not going to be you are defined by what you do, by what company, what corporation you're working in. It's not going
Which
to
is
be,
less that way anyways these days. It's a
it's
little bit less than it was. Yeah.
getting
It's not
there.
so much like that. Yeah, it's getting there. It's a little bit less.
It's not going to be, whoa, what degree did you study in university? And, all of that is going to be completely irrelevant in a matter of years, I would say, and what's going to matter is what are the skills, so to speak, or the education that will really keep us healthy, alive, and that is getting along with each other. And that is possible only by beginning to do some conscious work. Because we're not, I'm not saying people are just need to learn how to love each other. No, that's a naive and
Well, yeah,
fairy
why does it
tale.
work?
It's
Why does it work?
it's
Yeah.
exactly, it's gonna be daily. That's the daily work of the human being. We can come up with the technology that will help us feed ourselves and give us what we need. It's going to be very easy to do it. It's already easy to do it. We're just not there in terms of the socioeconomic order. But
Right.
you can feed the world. You can feed the world. Some experts wrote very good analyses
Right.
on this. You can feed the world, clothe the world. No one will be left thirsty and without medicine a few times over. You can do it today.
But it's a great
Today.
indication of our attitude
The-
towards that whole thing. If everyone's fed and clothed, it's a great indication of how people are relating to
Yes.
one another.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
It's like the number one.
So we're
The
going
necessities. And
towards something massive here. It's really hard to
It's massive.
describe.
And why is education so important? Because education is kind of like that pipeline that just perpetuates the current mold. Oh, we want this template to continue, so we're going to educate people how to continue to run it. You change education, then you're changing a little bit education, right? Then you're changing a little bit about how people are formed. Younger, a little bit older, it doesn't matter, but you have to start somewhere. You have to begin changing generations, and maybe it takes a couple of generations. It could take 10 generations to actually make this whole thing unfold completely, but you don't want that 10 generations to start after everything's already collapsed,
I think Balasalam says somewhere something about 3 generations till you see like grandparents, parents, children, till you see the
Right.
first
The
real
change, the
changes
fruits,
happening.
of it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Until people grow up like feeling loved and listened to, and understanding that it's worthwhile to help each other and to share whatever we have, and then their children also do. And by that time, you have examples. You're in a society where that's happening. And
check this out,
Well, because you
guys.
got one problem. Oh,
Yeah.
okay, go ahead.
No, go ahead, go ahead. This
All
is
right.
it's I can
No, I
bring
was
it
just gonna
up
say
later.
it's clear that there's one problem. Now it's clear what you said earlier. Why the solution is better connections, because the problem is incorrect uh, re-
Yeah.
relations. And I incorrectly perceive other people outside of me. I perceive them wrong, and naturally that's how it happens. So the work is kind of inverting that. And I can't just do it myself. It has to be this outside pressure. It's like in a family. I just want to sleep and do nothing all day. But, my wife makes me do this, or I have, responsibilities for the children, or if I'm younger, then I have to do this, and I have to do things, but I don't want to do them by myself. It's the same as wanting to relate to others in a different way. I don't want to do it, So I have to be somehow on the outside, be forced to do something that's against we say against my nature, because my nature is exactly the opposite. Which is why it seems like it's work. Which is why it hasn't happened yet, because no one wants to look in that direction to solve any problems. So, okay, go ahead.
Yeah. I wanted to read this. I have a quote here from our teacher's daily lesson. This is from today. So some woman from a friend of ours, a woman from Russia, asked him asked our teacher today in the daily lesson, how do you see the birth of the new world? Like, I don't have the English in front of me. I do have the quote in Hebrew in front of me, so I'll just simultaneously translate it. So not going to be 100%, fine-tuned translation, but you're going to get the spirit of it. How do you see, so she was asking, how do you see the new world that has to be born? How are we going to cooperate in the new world? So Dr. Lightman, Kabbalist Dr. Lightman, our teacher, answered this. I don't see this happening so soon. There's gonna be much more problems that will have to accompany the birth of the new world. This is, by the way, an important thing to understand. Kabbalists are not, naive kind of, kumbaya, let's hug each other people. They recognize there's a transformation process that needs to occur, and it's a difficult and complicated one. Anyway, so there are many problems that will accompany the birth of a new world, but when it will start becoming revealed, it's going to be something completely different. There will be people who recognize that anything but war, anything but developing hatred between us, that's what we should focus on. That's what we should fight for. We should fight for not allowing hatred to develop, to grow between us. On the contrary, we have to develop mutual appreciation, mutual consideration, even to the point of love, and hopefully we'll get there as soon as we can. What's happening in the world right now is pushing us towards that, but we're going to have to identify that and really learn what is good and what is bad. So,
And it's important
too big of a quote?
to mention.
Okay.
No, it's important to mention there the problems before this new birth, right? If you take the perception of the way that we define a problem right now, it seems like it's a negative thing, and that attitude also needs to be adjusted a little bit. If I see that a problem is something that I should try to, like the nuclear war, like I need to run away from it, right? That's one thing. But if you address a problem as nature's way of signaling to you that there's something that needs to be adjusted, corrected, then it's not a problem that I should be, that I should hate, or that I should be disgusted by, or that I should try to run away from. It's a problem that means that I have a duty to figure out what's the correct way to approach that issue. It's a duty as part of this living cell inside of nature. And that's nature's way of communicating to us. So it's not a problems that we need to face and solve them. It's ways that we can figure out of how to arrange ourselves correctly. A little more of a positive approach to it, hopefully. No.
Guys,
God willing.
yeah, guys, let's hope for a good outcome. Let's learn this. Let's create the right kind of education. Let's start in our own homes. Let's start with the people closest to us, and let's start to see the results right away or within a really short period of time. And then we'll, like a good virus, We'll see
Yeah.
it multiply.
Yeah.
We've
And
asked-
sign up for Cub U
That's
if
the
you
spread.
want to. Sorry, Seth. And sign up for Cub U because I saw that Yetzi is like right in his province. He said so. Yetzi,
Okay, so
we would
Yetzi, we'll see
love
you
to
there.
see you. Yeah.
See you in-
Yeah, if you're interested in the retreat, I'll say again, retreat.kabbalah.info a retreat is happening in Europe this May from the 5th through the 7th. And go to retreat.kabbalah.info
hi
to
to
get all the
us.
details. Yeah, we'll be there, at least most of us. And, give us a hug. We'll see you there. And we'll see you next week, everybody. 2 p.m. Eastern.
See ya.
Next Thursday. Bye.
We're not waiting for something to happen. We determine what will happen. We're not waiting for something to happen. We determine what will happen. To belong, to come here as a friend. The light is strong to touch our soul at last. I need you to show me something good. Show me how. Can't do it without you. We're not waiting for something to happen. We determine what will happen. We're not waiting for something to happen. We determine what will happen. We're not waiting for something to